Hello, we're getting ready for our next webinar. The first one on croissants and gems. And this is exactly now what we're putting back on the screen to ensure that we've got this little gimmick to welcome people here. I'll play some music on the background for those so that everybody can arrive, so that we can kick off in just a moment. Let's just put some music on and we'll be right back. We're going to start in just a moment. I just see that Ari is tuned in. Welcome, Ari. Welcome back. All right. Well, welcome once again to Croissants and Gems, the new webinar series that we will be doing specifically for people who want to amplify their life and make a big difference in the type of work they do right now. Welcome again. Very pleased to have you with us. It's the very first one, and I'm actually going to take away the screen so that we can start seeing each other again. Let me see. That's the one. Everything is live, as you see, nothing manufactured. Hello again. Great to have you back with us, Ari. This is the very first one that we're going to do, and you may be very pleased based on the surveys that were filled out that I have selected a nice topic that will really be relevant to you. One of the things that stood out in the survey is that some people are interested in setting up their own business and want to do really well with it, and may also need some help in order to do so. So I have selected that very topic to kick off the webinar series for you so that I can add value to you. And please, as we go through a bit of content, it is going to be a short, sharp, and shiny session. This weekly session is meant to go only for 10 to 15 minutes. So that's 1-5 maximum in terms of content, after which we'll have about 5 to maximum 10 minutes of Q&A, which means that's where you can ask me any question you like that I can take you through, and we should be done latest within 25 minutes after the start. So it's short, sharp, and shiny. It is something over croissants, so it's in the morning for Australians, and it is meant to add value to you. So very pleased that, again, that you're part of this. Just going to see, just making sure that the chat window works well. Ari, could you just make sure that you can see me well, you can hear me well, and that that the chat window works perfectly too? That would be very much appreciated, just so that everything is good. Also, highly recommend everybody that joins in on this webinar, always make sure that you stay hydrated. So I got my nice coffee. I haven't got my croissants today, but I will definitely have some later on. I want to make sure that I'm here for you first and foremost. Let's just see. So the chat window. Aha, I see now that it came up, which is good. Very good. Everything okay? Fantastic. Well, very good. Just again, want to check out. Please make sure that you got your questions as we go through it. I've got a few points that I've penciled down, and I'm going to ask you a few questions, because when you're right now in a job, and I'm talking now to everybody, because obviously this is broadcasted live, and it will also be available on YouTube later for people who are thinking of starting up an own business. So whether you are currently an employee and working for somebody, or you are considering making that change over and start your own corporation, this is exactly the right webinar to come to today. This is a topic that will be handling. It's starting up your own business successfully, all right? Particularly if you are in a, let's say, services type of environment where your knowledge, your expertise, your skills, your background, your experience, all of that comes in to rescue for clients who are looking for it, people who need your solutions, your ideas. That exactly is going to be predominantly the focus of today, but it definitely will be helpful to anybody else who definitely is very much in a relationship-based environment where your business largely depends on the amount of clients that you help, that you get on board. All right. So with that being said, first things first, big question I'd like to ask you: when you are considering setting up that business, I'd like you to think for yourself and make sure that, again, that you've got a pen and paper to write things down. Think on paper is always a good thing. The first question I have for you is, do you want to be a practitioner or do you want to be a business operator? Now, notice that some people think, well, what do you mean? Let me explain this one. Practitioners, they like to roll up the sleeves and do the work. They like to be the experts in their field, and they like to work with the clients and implement the solutions. The challenge is that you only have X amount of days and X amount of hours each day to do that work. So you've always got an explicit ceiling for you to be able to work with people and add value to them. Makes sense, right? So that's a practitioner, somebody who's practically doing the work all the time. The business operator, though, is somebody who is thinking already before he or she starts with the business that this is going to be a business that's going to build scale. It's going to be, the purpose of the business owner is really for him or her to step into a role in which he or she has other people do the work. So he or she becomes a business operator rather than a practitioner. I'd like you to be very clear, and please, if you have not already picked out what you really want to do, and I'm talking now not just in your mind, but in your heart of hearts. What is it that you really get passionate about? Is it for you to build a business that will have many staff, that will have a local presence, a national presence, or even a multinational presence? Do you want to keep it small? Do you want to make it big? What is it for you? Really, it's important that you find out in your heart what it is that you're looking for. That needs to be first. So if I were to ask you now, again, the question that you would answer in the chat window, do you want to be a practitioner or a business operator? First, please write it down now so I can see a little bit where we're at. That helps us to steer me into the next few questions and answers. So it's very important indeed. I think a lot of people sometimes, they start doing the work and they just expect that it will go ballistic, or they're just very happy where they're at, or they really want to build it, but they haven't really thought it through. And I think the more thoughts you put into that first, and most importantly, where again, you listen to your heart, that you don't start building it because you think that other people want it for you, that you don't start doing it because your spouse is wanting you to either build a big business or keep it small. It's really important that you, when you really make a commitment for yourself to start to take this serious and you want to become an entrepreneur or a small business owner, that you really listen to your heart first. So please write it out. What is it for you? Type it in the chat window so that I can see where you are at particularly. All right, as that is happening now, I haven't seen any answer come through yet, but I'll keep going on with the next point. The second thing is, a lot of people, actually, there is one coming through now. Coming from a practitioner approach, it's tempting to say in that role, but I will be better to become an operator. All right. Yes. I actually asked the question because I know from working with a lot of practitioners and experts in their field how tempting it is to be there. And yes, you're so true that in order to really become highly successful, and again, success obviously is something that we all define differently. For some people, they will define it by the amount of money they make and keep, meaning earning. By other people, it will be by the amount of clients that they serve, doing what they love consistently every day would be another way of success. And there's many more, obviously. So again, perhaps it's good for you to also define what success means to you as we are going through this. So perhaps write down success means, or a successful business that I set up means blah, 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 whatever it is. Write it down. Very good to do so. It's a good exercise. The second thing I'd like to say is that when you're currently an employee, I've worked myself in a few organizations prior to me setting up several businesses over the years. One thing I noticed is that being an employee is perfectly fine in many respects. In a way, you could also start looking at yourself quite differently by saying that regardless of who you work for, that you are already right now a president of your own services corporation. And I really like that idea. Here's the gist. A lot of people who start up an own business and invest their money and time and sweat and sometimes tears into it, they will really underestimate how much time, sweat, equity, money, tears that it takes in order to set up a business properly. It's not as easy as we sometimes think. Sometimes I would be the first one to say that I was probably quite naive to think that things would go as quick as I thought they would. But it's really important that you think about it. Well, what are right now the benefits of being employed by somebody else? Because when you're employed by somebody else, you've got steady income, so you don't need to worry about it really. You can afford to make mistakes, and whilst somebody else really will take ownership of it. At worst, you will lose your job, and then you just look for another one. So there's quite a few benefits that being an employee offer you. And again, I really like you to think this through a little bit more in advance, for the simple reason that when you start up an own business, it will cost you money. It will cost you a lot of time, and typically it will cost you more money and time than you initially anticipated. So before you start doing it, make sure that you are prepared to do what it takes before you start. Because the last thing you would want to do is do what many people do, is start a business, do it maybe for a few months or even a year or even 2. We know that a lot of businesses fail in their first 2 years, even more so fail in their first 5 years. And so when you put it into, if you think about it, what it will mean, for example, for your mortgage, right? That you will sometimes not know where the money comes from. Sometimes that is going to be part of the journey. Sometimes you will have more bills coming in than money that you collect that day or that week or that month. So are you prepared to take all that? Are you prepared to put everything you've got on the line to serve your dream, to serve your passion, and take it with, just take it with gratitude? One of the great words that I wanted to initially talk about today is gratitude. When you set up a business, there's so many learnings that you will have along the way. You will get a lot of feedback, and feedback on what doesn't work, feedback on what you shouldn't do next time around, feedback on where you shouldn't spend your time on and what you should do instead. Some of the things you won't like doing, but guess what? Because you're the business owner and you need to start somewhere, you will have to do it in a way, because failing to do so will have consequences. And those consequences can cost you a lot of money and worries as well. So it's important that we'll really think through this all at once. There is benefits of having your own business, and there is benefits of being employed by somebody else. And some people take the best of 2 worlds. They start off working for a good employer that helps them to look after the family and so on, and then do something after hours and to obviously set up a business of some kind. I have several clients of mine in sales roles, for example, that have a business alongside their sales role. So they take home whatever, $90,000 or $100,000 a year, or some of them even more. And alongside, they're setting up a business that they can scale up and where they will be a business operator with time. And that's what they're planning for. So as soon as that business produces enough money to compensate for the steady income, that's when they would shift gears and pretty much abandon the job and move on to the next thing on their own. Different things work obviously in different ways. But really, when you're an employee, see yourself as a president of your own corporation. The great thing is that you can afford to learn, to be educated, to make mistakes, to have fun, to to become an expert in your field, to build relationships in the industries and the fields that you want prior to you even attempting setting up your own. I think it's a great asset to have. When I think back, when I came here 5.5 years ago, probably what I could have done first is establish myself with a big firm that would have opened up a lot of doors initially, and then would have then let me onto my own ventures. That probably would have fast-tracked things a little bit more than what they did currently. But anyway, moving a little bit faster, I see that time is going really fast once again. I really would like you to think about what the purpose is when you are, again, considering setting up your own business that you either will run alongside or that you will do full-time straight away. What is your purpose? What's the purpose of the business? Because it cannot be making money only. Because of the intensity it requires in terms of time, the amount of money, the amount of sweat and tears and efforts of yours and other people. Sometimes, I will be honest, I have sold my house to have enough cash to invest in my business in the early days. If you're prepared to do what it takes, that means that you really are driven out of your heart. And I think it's important that clients value people who are very business savvy, but at the same time are driven by something more than money only. And that's the fine balance once again. Some people are really passionate and they would give everything they've got, but probably they haven't really got the business mind to it and haven't thought it through and planned for it and took in the right advisors and so on. And that's a bit doomed to fail. But if you do, make the best out of the cognitive part, being able to plan and think it through and get the right advice and coaches and trainers and so on involved, the right education. If you put that together along with the passion, you need to know the passion is what's going to keep you going in the light of setbacks. Please write that down. Passion and your dream is going to keep you going in the face of setbacks. And guess what? You can rest assured that whether you're working for somebody else, but definitely when you start working for yourself, is that you're going to have heaps of setbacks. It's probably one of the fastest way to fast track your personal development by setting up an own business, because it's just, you cannot anticipate everything that will come your way, but you will still need to deal with it, whether you like it or not. And here's the thing, for successful businesses, they learn how to deal with everything that comes their way. And so it's important that you are prepared to see what your dream is made out of and how far you want to go in order to achieve that dream. Because again, it's not necessarily going to be easy. Sometimes it will go faster than what we probably think if we tend to be a bit more skeptical. But guess what? There is no shortcuts to success, and that's for sure. So think about what it is, your purpose, write it out. I'm going to move a bit faster now because time is definitely ticking. I'd like you to think also about what it will take. How will you need to plan to succeed? Where are your strengths and your shortfalls? Which are the things that your clients will really like, but in order to run a business, which sort of skills may you be lacking? What sort of knowledge may you be lacking? And most importantly, who else will you need to go and see to establish a business so that you have thought it through all in advance before starting? I think the biggest mistake I did is just focusing on the things that I wanted initially and think that all the rest I could somehow get away with. Guess what? When you set up a business, you need to think about your wills, you need to think about your insurances, you need to think about, well, what will you do if you have got 3 months of no cash coming in? All sorts of things like this, you need to really think through in advance so that you got a safety net so that you can work through it if the worst case would happen, all right? Very important. And last one but not least, especially coming back to our earlier point about being a practitioner or a business operator, is we need to make sure that we find ways to have leverage if that is what you're after. I'll give you an example. As a practitioner, you can only work X amount of hours. You can only bill for X amount of hours. You can only bill for the amount of clients that you personally can handle. As soon as you become a business operator and you start deploying other people on certain projects and working with certain clients, that's when you start to, when you need systems and structures in place to manage that all and work it. Technology is obviously a great way to leverage resources. And so how can you build leverage early on in your business model so that you are not necessarily chasing the next project, not the next invoice, not the next fee from a client, so that you have really, so that you can plan from it in advance. Financial services, for example, have done it really well. For every insurance claim they've got recurring income, passive income all the time for as long as clients stay, on their books. The lenders, or sorry, the insurance companies will hand out a certain dividend or a certain percentage back to the broker who sold the insurance in the first place. And so that's really important. And you think about, well, how can you build steady cash in your business early on, and how can you use technology to maximize efficiencies, to reduce costs, to make it easy on you so that you can work more on the business rather than doing everything manually in an old school fashion and with a lot of errors and mistakes and time consuming. So that's pretty much it from my end. I'm done with my content. Apparently it took a little bit longer to do this, but over to you now for questions. We will have about 5 minutes for questions. So all yours, just type them away. Happy to answer your questions. Right, and in 5 minutes we will terminate this first webinar. So again, pleased for you to have you with us here, and appreciate also your questions here now sent through me. And I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. Right, we'll have the bite and the croissant a bit later. So at least I hope that you already got a few gems here out of this little session. Short, sharp, and shiny, as it was meant to be. So Ari, any question, mate? Just fire away. I'm all yours. Hope you made a lot of notes as well, because I find those always very important. I went, for example, to a seminar myself over the weekend, 2-day intensive. It blew my mind to such an extent that I had a headache for 3 days afterwards. But coming back to the point, the amount of notes I took was phenomenal. I had probably 16 pages of content plus the booklet that I received that I also had made notes on. So very important to structure your thoughts on paper, and then later on to highlight things, to collate it, summarize it on 1 page afterwards, so that you got your learnings out of it and it's all easy to comprehend, easy to get your head around. And obviously 1 page is much easier than 16 pages at the same time. So anyway, any question there, please fire away. All yours. I made note indeed. Perfect. Very good. Thank you for writing that. What's your question? How can I help you there? So just in recap, we looked at consulting. Do you want to be a practitioner or a business operator? 2, if you're currently an employee, see yourself as the president of your own corporations. If you don't like where you work, guess what? Find another boss, another company. And now certainly you will find so. Number 3, purpose. What is your purpose? Why would you set up your business in the first place? What will it give you? What's the benefits? And how far are you prepared to go for your dream to realize it? Number 3, plan to succeed. Get everything involved. Put all the cards on the table. Make sure that you talk to all the people that need you to advise you on what it will take in terms of intellectual property, in terms of protection, in terms of steady cash flow, budgets, accounting, how to minimize tax, all of the likes, how to set up and protect your own assets through your estates, planning and the likes. It's all very important. The legal stuff, copywriting, branding. There's so much involved, really, once you set up your own business. And last, leverage. How can you build in leverage in your business? It looks like I haven't got any questions so far, so I must have been super clear in what I shared with you. We've got 2 more minutes to go, so again, very welcome to take your questions as you populate them in the chat window. All right. Okay, question coming through. Fantastic. Thank you for that one. How to find potential clients. My business mentor keeps saying, look for problems to solve, which is hard because I seem to come from the other end with solutions for problems I haven't yet found yet. Okay, that's a good one. Obviously, for you as an engineer, how do you find potential clients? Look, two ways to go about it. I'll be very quick because we've got only a minute left. I would, especially if you're in the early days, you need to look for clients in two ways. A, you will only find them when you reach out to clients. So either you will need to go networking heavily, which will take a lot of time, or you will need to become more smart about your thing, and you will do either one of the two things that I will share now with you. A, you go on the phones and you interview people that you may need your services. So you would interview and you would have clear questions prepared in advance and say to them something of the kind, hello, my name is such and such from this particular company. Your company has just popped up in front of my eyes, and it just dawned on me that you guys are definitely a leader in your field. At the same time, that there may be some challenges that you experience, and I would like to find out a little bit more about them so that I could come back to you with some useful ideas that will help you solve them quickly and help you save money. Would that be okay? Once you've asked that question and they say yes, you pretty much got an open door to either then have an interview with them where you would ask for probing questions, or ask for a face-to-face meeting, which I would highly recommend you to do, because it will build relationships with the right people already, and it will help you, get up to speed more quickly. The second thing you can do is to use the internet to position yourself as an expert in your field, and use all sorts of social media to your advantage to put your expertise out there and make sure that the right people find you. So what you would do is you would use a more inbound way of marketing, which is designed, you would write blogs, you would make videos on topics that, address problems of the people that you would want to work with and serve, but also obviously show different ways on how they can go about it, which will again establish your expertise. I'll give you one example of my own. I now finally finished my book, my first book on business development for professional and financial services firms. It's on Amazon for grabs. It builds my credibility. People can read it, whether I'm asleep or whether I'm holidaying in Europe or somewhere else in the world. 24/7, people can find their way to me rather than me trying to chase them. So in short, find ways to you reach out to the right people and build relationships with them and qualify them through questioning techniques. 2, make sure that people find you and ensure that you leverage technology for your benefit so that you can talk to more people and save a lot of time. That's pretty much it for me today. We went a little bit in overtime, but I hope this served you. Just for a bit of feedback from my end. Was this helpful? Yes? Please write it in the chat with us so that I can see how we went, and then we will stop the session for this week. But next week and all the next weeks after, every 7 days at the same time, Croissants and Gems will be available. So I look forward to having you more. Please do me a favor. Obviously, I'm doing this completely free of charge. I like to help more people with this. So please share the link in your Facebook. Please write perhaps a nice testimonial as to what you got out of the session. And also please copy paste the link to the webinar series in either Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, wherever you got it. But please write some testimonials so that more people will find their way to this series weekly, and that it becomes more dynamic for everybody. This is the first one. We started off on a smaller scale, but I want to build scale over time and have more people join in. So thank you as well. Yes, glad to hear that this was helpful. Wish you a fantastic rest of the week, and I look forward to next time as well. So thank you so much. My name is Bram, Croissants and Gems. Over to you. Bye-bye.